So Jenna just jumped out of the car to go to Model Bakery a few minutes before they closed to see if she can order the English muffin sandwich that Oprah would fly to her house from Napa Valley. So let's see if she got there in time.
I don't know.
So this answers my question. God dang it. What's up everybody? So today we're going to be making English muffins. We were in Napa Valley and we went to the beloved Model Bakery and we were not making it in time to get an English muffin. Since we did not get the English muffin, my wife decided to buy the book. If you want the book, you can check out the book down below in the About section of this video, and you can go ahead and cop the Model Bakery book. So let's dive into the recipe and let's go see how it turns out. And let me know what you guys think. To start off this dough, we first made a biga. A biga is a combination of flour, water, and yeast. It's a pre-fermentation. Starter of this house gives that nice little fermented flavor to our bread. It's classically used in a lot of Italian dishes like ciabatta. We're going to use it here, and we're just going to mix it into a bowl after it's set for a day. Then we're going to add olive oil, yeast, salt, and water. And then we're going to give it a mix on low until it gets a nice creamy texture. Baby, what are you doing here? No. Now, you don't actually need a KitchenAid mixer to make this recipe. You can make it into a bowl, just whisk it to that until creamy. The KitchenAid is just for our convenience, and we're going to use a paddle attachment and mix it until we achieve that nice, even, creamy texture with the biga and the water and the other ingredients. Once we've reached a creamy-like consistency, we're going to add about 3 cups of flour into that mixture, with the remaining ½ cup to add in later. We're going to mix this for about 2 minutes until it's combined, constant, and you'll see, tacky.
Combine the biga, yeah, after the bowl to the mixer and put with it. Yeah, mix on low speed, looks creamy. And then mix in 3 cups of the flour to make a soft, sticky dough. Turn off the
My wife's a pastry chef, so she'll jump in here and help me out with this part of making this recipe.
Add the water, break up the biga, stir until the biga dissolves. Mix in enough flour to make a cohesive but tacky. Oh, cohesive but tacky dough. It has to be tacky. Dude, it has to be tacky.
What does tacky mean?
Like it's still dough that you can form, but it's sticky. You have to make a cohesive dough. See how there's still flour in there? Scrape the sides and then freaking mix it more. Yeah, I would just scrape the sides, yeah, so it's cohesive. And I would take all this out too. Look at all that dough.
Once your dough is cohesive and tacky, we're going to cover it with some oiled saran wrap, just so it doesn't get any dry spots on top, and we're going to set it aside for about 20 minutes. Once the rest for about 20 minutes, we're going to come and check on it, and it should be nice and soft. We're going to remove the plastic wrap and then add some flour on top just to bring it together. Switching out from the paddle attachment on our KitchenAid, we're going to add the dough hook attachment, and then we're letting it go for 8 minutes. What this is going to do is build up the gluten. The gluten and gliadin are going to react with the force applied to it, and it's going to create these long strands that are going to make this really hold in all that air to be able to ferment and to puff up and to hold in all that air to make a nice fluffy bread. After we've mixed it on the dough hook attachment for about 8 minutes, we're going to remove it and put it onto a lightly floured surface. We're going to work with our hands and to kind of let all of those air pockets get out by pushing it and rolling it into a circle and folding the dough over on itself. Once we do this and the dough is in a nice round shape, we're going to place it into an oiled bowl. We had some garlic oil that we made earlier, which was just an infusion of garlic and oil cooked in low temperature. And we're just going to use that oil and put it in the bowl and let it sit for another 2 hours. Once it's in the bowl, we're going to put a little more oil on top and then cover it very nicely and very tightly and set it aside in a nice warm area for 2 hours or in your refrigerator for 8 to 12 hours. Next, onto a surface. We're going to use a sheet pan with a soap pad. Soap pad's kind of unnecessary, but we had it on there. Add your cornmeal and make it as flat as possible. You can just throw it, toss it, use your hand, and just shape it and set it aside. On a lightly floured surface, you're going to add that dough. Make sure that's been sitting for about 2 hours, or if you proofed it in your refrigerator for 8 to 12 hours, allow it to come to room temperature for about an hour before you start this process. We're going to weigh out the dough so we get a total weight. This recipe yields 12 portions, so we're going to take whatever weight we have, divide by 12, and it ended up being around 77 grams. So we're going to weigh each ball into 77 grams before we roll them into these tight little balls. The way you do this, you put your hands like a little horseshoe and you just kind of roll it until it seals up and pushes out any of those little air pockets that might be built up inside, so we get a nice even English muffin. Place it onto your sheet of cornmeal and give it a flip so that it's covering both sides. You can pat a little extra on there if you'd like, and just give them a roll so they're nice and covered. We want to try to stick to the top and bottom, but if you get a little bit on the side, it's not the end of the world. Now once again, we're going to cover them up and allow them to sit for an additional hour. You'll know when they're ready when you stick your finger lightly on them and they bounce back a little bit. Into a cast iron pan, preferably over a medium-high heat, we're going to add clarified butter. Here I'm actually using ghee, or a browned butter that's been clarified of the milk solids. We're going to heat it up in the cast iron pan over medium-high heat and then rotate them and flip them as needed to get evenly browned sides. So it looks like a lot of butter is going to be used, but I think that's the secret in this recipe, really, is just making it like a freaking donut. And you see how it's like nice and brown across the entire top. That's going to be the difference between this and a lot of the English muffins that you see at your grocery store or that you probably had before. And I can say that this makes all the difference. Making it in the brown butter or in the clarified butter or ghee is going to add another depth of flavor to this English muffin donut.
So we just made the English muffin from Model Bakery using the recipe, and these look great. Like, look at, they're so fluffy, they look so light. I guess the only thing I noticed with the recipe is going off a bunch of videos we watched and learning about them. It started off as a focaccia dough recipe, which is a great idea, and the flavor is really there. Using the biga. But most traditional English muffin recipes are really soft, they're really liquidy, so they usually use a ring mold, but this one was a little more firm, so you didn't need to use a ring mold, which was a little cool, interesting take on the recipe. Another thing I noticed is when they cut into them, they don't just use a serrated knife. Usually we can just cut into a serrated knife. There is a whole debate between using a serrated knife and a fork, and from watching other videos, I noticed that the fork is used to help create those little nooks and crannies that the English muffin is known for. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our fork and we're just going to go ahead and stick it in our side here, and while we're in there, we're just going to give it a little wiggly waddly wooloo waddle, and just like help create those little pockets that are known for the English muffin, or the nooks and crannies. If there's a difference between the two, please let me know in the bottom. I know there's a huge debate overseas, depending where you're from, but I don't know what that is. To be honest, I just made this recipe. We have a nice, fluffy, smells so freaking good, it's insane. And then you can go ahead and make a breakfast sandwich. You get to toast this off. I think the right thing to do is go ahead and put this on the grill. Let's go. Not on the grill. We're going to put this in the toaster and give it a nice little toast on there, get some color on top. Came right out the toast. These muffins just came right off the broiler, so they're really crispy. Yeah. Yay! They're still fluffy. They're still fluffy and they're like super crunchy. This is. Oh my goodness. We're just gonna bite like this. It's insane. It's so fluffy. Oh, fluffy. And so crunchy. Oh my goodness. You gotta try this out. Oh! Thanks for tuning in the channel. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe. And if you want to see any other recipes from your favorite places or from our travels, definitely let me know in the comment section. We'll make sure to do that for you guys. All right, stay tuned. Until next time, stay happy, stay hungry, feed your soul and feed your mind.
Peace.